Hi, and welcome to C'est La Vie Dawn. Today I'm participating in the Canadian Thanksgiving Collab hosted by Sandra from the Schwowen's Nest, along with these other extremely talented Canadian ladies. I will leave a link to the playlist in the description box below. Please go and check out all of the videos. Okay, so for the first part of the DIY, we are going to be taking a Michael's foam pumpkin. I've cut off the top. And we are going to be using some foam you can get at the Dollar Tree. I was out of the dry foam, so I just used the wet foam. That is what I had on hand. So I've just started cutting the foam, and you're going to place it into the pumpkin as you see fit, cutting pieces just to fit it in, and hot gluing as necessary. So you can hot glue in the bottom of the pumpkin, or I chose to hot glue directly onto my foam and place in the pumpkin, continuing to place pieces until you reach the top rim. So for the next part, I decided to use these beautiful floral bouquets that I got from a Michael's $5 grab bag not too long ago. I really liked the pinks and the whites and the greenery in these bouquets, along with some cotton stems from Dollar Tree and some feathers that I already have in my stash from my chickens. So here I am just cutting off the stems where it meets the long part of the stem, about 4 inches, and I've just cut off the flowers as you see here from both bouquets as well as the greenery. I want to thank you all for watching and joining me on this journey. I am very new to editing, so please be patient with me throughout this video. This is my first real edited video. Thank you so much, and if you like what you're seeing, I'd love it if you would join my channel by subscribing. Okay, so next I've taken some Spanish moss that I've picked up at the Dollar Tree by Crafter Square, and I have hot glued it to the rim of the foam pumpkin, as you see me doing here. Just placing it all around. And here I have started just to arrange the florals, just placing them as you see fit. Really enjoying using these whites and these pinks for the shabby chic look. I love the eucalyptus and the lamb's ear. And here you just see me playing with it, just getting it full. I really wanted the pumpkin really full. Adding some peonies, some white for contrast, and some greenery. Now on the bottom, finish it off with some Spanish moss. I really love the moss hanging down look from the bottom, so I've glued in some at the bottom. Adding some more flowers just to fill out that bouquet. Next, I'm adding in the Dollar Tree stems. You'll see in a bit one had to be retrimmed and replaced in there. But I used 2 of the Dollar Tree stems, one on each side. And next I've used the white feathers from my chickens. You can pick up feathers at the dollar stores, and what I've done is just hot glued the feather to a toothpick or a bamboo skewer and place them in the bouquet. I really like the femininity and the shabby chic look with the feathers by placing them in. Okay, next I had these beautiful mint green faux pearls in my stash. So what I decided to do was weave them in the bouquet and leave a few of the pieces hanging down along the side of the pumpkin. You will see how they hang down in my end reveal shot at the end of this video. And there you have the pumpkin. For the second part of the DIY, I've used 2 foam pumpkins from Dollar Tree, removing the stem. Their stem is not necessary. And I have painted the first one with Blush Pink by Rust-Oleum, and the second one I used the Rust-Oleum Chalked Gray. You can get chalk paint from the dollar stores. I just used what I had on hand. I did 2 coats, and there is the gray one. Next, we are going to be making the stem and displaying this pumpkin using some lace, etc. Okay, so I used a piece of burlap I had in my stash, and what I did was I cut off a little chunk of it, and I'm just rolling it up here, adhering some hot glue. And then what I did from the bottom to the top is wrap it with that jute twine, bending the stem as I glued up the top, getting it more narrow and closed off with a glue gun there. Next, you're going to take a bamboo skewer or a toothpick and glue it in to the bottom of your stem. Next, I used some lace I had in my stash. You can pick up these kind of lace at the dollar stores as well. And what I did is hot glued it around the ring of the Dollar Tree pumpkin. You can clearly see where the ring is on the pumpkin. So what I did was I just hot glued around. Use caution when you're using your hot glue. My hands can take a lot of heat, so be very careful. Hot glue is hot. And just going around the pumpkin. And finishing off, cutting off the excess. Hot gluing the sides there. Next, we're going to use the Crafter Square Spanish moss again for these projects. And what you're going to do is just glue a handful in the center and spread it out, trimming if necessary. I pushed in a little bit of the lace just to give it that ruffled feel, and just messing up the moss, pulling it out. And for the stem, we are just going to take that pick part and hot gluing it to the top. And here you can see my pink one. The stem I attached first for this one, and I am using a different type of lace. For this one, I used 3 pieces, hot gluing it on. Again, adding the Spanish moss. And attaching the stem. I used some leaves from the faux bouquets, as well as a feather in each of the pumpkins. Okay, so for the garland part of my DIY, which is part 3, we're going to use some jute cord, some pine cones, some twigs that I've cut, some eyelash trim I purchased from Dollar Tree, and some lace from my stash, different lace. Okay, so for the twigs, I cut the twigs about 6 inches. I used 8 pieces, and you tie them off with the jute cord. I'm just going to say here, the garland is about 6 feet long, the one I made. And with the loops, I tied loops and attached it by nails. So here I am attaching the jute, tying it off to make little stick bunches. I made 4 of these for my garland. Next, for the pine cone part of the garland, I took some jute. Here I'm just measuring how long I want, and you're going to tie your jute in a loop so that it can attach to the garland. And what you do is you're going to tie your pieces of sticks and your pine cones and your lace. I used some eyelash trim and some lace, and I just tied it off. You will see it in the end reveal. So here I'm just adding some hot glue, and I'm placing my loop here. Hold it for a few seconds so it stays in place. While the hot glue is still hot, I added in some pieces of lace trim. I just cut into pieces and added all around the pine cones. And here is the end reveal in my entranceway for Thanksgiving. Here's the garland. You can see I attached the pine cones and the twigs and my eyelash and lace trims. I want to thank Sandra for hosting, as well as my fellow participants for this collaboration. It was really fun, and please go check out the playlist down below to see all of the other talented ladies' work. Thanks so much.